So we are out here at the Utah State University Research Farm in Lewiston, and this farm is located in the Cache Valley. It's about 15 miles north of the campus in Logan, and just a couple miles south of the Idaho state line. This farm is where we do forage and grazing research. It's a little over 100 acres and really good soil, a really good place to do this kind of work. So I'm going to talk to you about a few different projects that we have going on here, and some of the speakers that are going to follow me will have some additional research from this particular location, and we'll go ahead and get started. The most common question I get regarding pasture is, what should I plant? And whenever anybody asks me that question, I always have to answer with a firm and resounding, it depends. It depends on your environment. It depends on how much water you have available. It depends on your soil, and it depends on management and how good of a pasture manager you are. And so what I thought we'd start out with is a real quick introduction to some of the key players, the key species that we can encounter in an irrigated pasture setting in this environment. And then we'll use that kind of as a baseline as we talk about some other things. So we're going to talk about 4 grasses, and we're going to talk about 4 legumes. And so here we go. So tall fescue is the most common pasture grass in the state of Utah and probably in the entire country. And the reason is it's adapted to a wide range of soil and climatic conditions. It'll grow almost anywhere, and it'll do really well almost anywhere. It is generally less palatable than other pasture grasses. So when it's planted in a mixture with other grasses, it tends to become the dominant species. It is drought tolerant. It's got a deep root system. And so all it takes is about 18 inches of precip, and this plant can do really well. It can withstand heavier hoof traffic than other pasture grasses. And it's most palatable when the leaves are young and succulent, and tends to get a little bit more unpalatable with age. But tall fescue is the highest yielding grass in any trial that we do. It's always the yield king, and but yeah, it's just a workhorse grass. This is meadow brome. It's a long-lived perennial. It's does well on both irrigated and dry land. It only takes about 15 inches of precip, and it can survive. Good yielder. It's usually going to be in second place, just behind tall fescue. So it yields really well. Identifying characteristics, if I pull a grass here and we kind of look at it up against the sun, see if we can see that. It's got hairy leaves and stems. And that distinguishes it from a lot of other pasture grasses. This is a winter hardy grass. It's usually light green in color. It's going to regrow quickly after grazing. And I mentioned before, it's pretty high yielding. It's moderately rhizomatous, so it'll spread just a little bit when it's irrigated, but not so much that it's going to become a dense mat former that crowds out other things. This is actually a grass that plays really well with others in a mixture. So, yep, I think that's all I wanted to say about meadow brome. So the next grass we're going to talk about is orchard grass. And here is a seed head of orchard grass. You've probably seen that around. Very common grass in pastures. Distinguishing characteristic when you look at the plant itself is the leaf blade is folded in half, and it's almost like it's pressed like a fine linen, or like a collar on a dress shirt or something. But the leaves are long. They usually appear from the base of the plant. There's usually few to no leaves at all on the stalk. Does really well on well-drained soils, and it's a very, very palatable grass. In terms of longevity, probably not as long as tall fescue or meadow brome, but it's still a medium to long-lived plant. In a lot of areas, this is a desirable and even a preferred forage. It needs a lot of water though. It needs at least 18 inches of precip or irrigation in order to do well. But it's more drought tolerant than a grass like Timothy, but less than tall fescue or meadow brome. It is moderately winter hardy, but it will not survive when snow is lacking, and so it needs that blanket of snow in order to protect it from cold temperatures. This is a bunch grass that plays really, really well with others. It does well in mixtures and with grasses that are moderately rhizomatous, creeping, kind of like meadow brome. So that is orchard grass. Orchard grass will yield less than tall fescue and meadow brome, but it'll do better than perennial ryegrass. Final grass we're going to talk about is perennial ryegrass, and this is a grass that's really common in other parts of the world, England, Wales, back east, Europe. You'll hear about this one all the time. People love it because it's highly nutritious for animals, but it just doesn't do very well in our environment. So it does establish quickly, though. That is certainly a plus. Plant height is going to be about 12 to 24 inches tall, but most of the forage is going to be concentrated toward the base of the plant. And as we're looking here at the plants, one thing that you'll note is how many other things have crept into this stand. The dandelions are just, there's a zillion dandelions and forage legumes and about anything can invade this because it's just not a very competitive plant. It does not persist well here in the western U.S. because it does not tolerate heat or drought. Temperatures above 80 degrees do not agree with it, and it needs about 30, 40, 50 inches of precip a year in order to do well. It needs a lot of fertilizer. The stand itself may last 3 to 4 years, at which and so what we try to do is overseed annually with about 5 pounds of seed just to try to keep it going. But it does do well in mixtures with legumes. It does not do well in mixtures with other grasses because it's so much more palatable and so nutritious compared to other grasses that they'll tend to overtake it. So that is perennial ryegrass. So next we're going to talk about earthfoot trefoil, and you can see here the yellow flowers on the plant. Just a really, really pretty plant. You can also see the leaves, if I can get them right. You can kind of see how the leaves of this plant look. But low growing, kind of gangly. It's not a very upright plant, and so it's a lot better as a grazing type forage than put up for hay. In fact, if we harvest it for hay, usually the yields are only about 50 to 80% of what you can get with alfalfa. It is generally slower to establish than alfalfa. It takes a couple of years to really get it up and going. And it's also a short-lived legume. Typically only lives 2 to 4 years, and so reseeding is necessary. The nice thing about this plant is it can self-reseed. So what we typically do is toward the end of the year in the Cache Valley, usually the month of September, we don't graze it. We pull all the animals off the pasture, we let it flower, we let it go to seed, and drop the seed on the ground, and then we come in after frost and after everything is ready to be put to bed in the winter, and that's when we kind of clean the fields off. But we do allow it to reseed toward the end of the year, and that's how we rejuvenate new plants, and that's a really important management practice with this. This is adapted to a wide range of soils, and it'll do better on waterlogged soils than alfalfa will. And it's also a tannin-containing, non-bloating legume. So with alfalfa, we have to be concerned about bloating. With bird's foot trefoil, we don't. This is Sicer milkvetch. This is a long-lived perennial, and it's also a non-bloater. It's a rhizomatous plant, so it does spread underground. It's got quality that's similar to alfalfa, with good drought tolerance. But anytime you subject it to drought, your yields are going to be reduced. Cold tolerant. It's generally less susceptible to frost heaving than alfalfa because of the shape of its root system. It needs about 16 inches of precip per year. And so it'll do well in areas that are sometimes dry land, and often areas with limited irrigation. Like if you have irrigation for the first part of the season but not the last, this can do well. One caution I'll give you with this plant is it takes 2 years to get established. That first year you'll plant it, and you'll go out and you'll dig around in the canopy and you'll look for it, and you'll think it was a complete failure. And then you'll come back that next year, and lo and behold, there it is. It's doing well. So got to be patient with this one, but it'll eventually come on. But yields well, good forage, pretty hardy, and just takes a little time to get there. This is alfalfa, the plant that needs no introduction. Most common forage grown in Utah and throughout the western U.S. It is a bloater, though, and in pastures it can cause some problems where Sicer milkvetch, bird's foot trefoil, and sandfoin and things like that are not. And but nothing yields like alfalfa. It grows everywhere. It does not like wet feet, but all around it's really difficult to beat. Another legume is white clover. And white clover is one of those plants that we rarely have to plant. It sort of finds its way here, usually as a seed contaminant, but it's just kind of around and just has a way of showing up. It's got a shallow root system, so it's not drought tolerant. The leaves and stems develop from stolons, these stems that run kind of along the ground, and so it's very low growing. It's not well suited for hay. It does well in a pasture setting. The forage yield is generally low, but the quality and the nitrogen fixation is good, and so it does have a place.